Guys, it's Miss Landry, and this video is about how we're going to name covalent compounds. So these are a little bit different than what you're used to. I actually find these to be the easiest things to name ever. So let's start with here is a covalent compound. So notice I have nitrogen and I have oxygen. Remember from the last video that covalent compounds are between nonmetal and nonmetal. Okay, so here's how you're going to name it. You're going to start with the element that is furthest to the left on the periodic table, right? So if you look at where nitrogen and oxygen are, and I could try and point here, nitrogen is further to the left than oxygen is, and so I'm going to name nitrogen first. So you go to the left or furthest to the bottom. That's going to be your first named compound. So here I've got nitrogen. The second thing you're going to do, step 2, is the second element. So here we have oxygen. You're going to change the ending to "ide," just like we've been doing. So that becomes oxide. So we're good so far. The next step is the cool step. So we're going to use prefixes. Prefixes are the little things that come before the word. And we're going to use numerical prefixes to indicate how many of each thing we have. So if you notice here, we have 2 nitrogen. So the prefix for 2 in chemistry is nitrogen. That means we have 2 nitrogen. I have 3 oxygen. So I'm going to use the prefix tri. That means 3. So trioxide. So when you put all of that together, you get the name dinitrogen trioxide. Super simple, okay? Now there is an exception to the rule that I want to make you aware of. The prefix for 1 is mono. So, monoxide, something like that. If the first element in your compound, you only have 1, so imagine we only had 1 nitrogen here, we actually wouldn't use a prefix because the N itself tells you have 1. But if the second element has only 1, we do use mono. So if you don't get it right now, don't worry, we're going to practice a bunch. Okay, so let's try a few and we'll see how we do. So let's take a look at this first one here, okay? N2O5, this is what we're going to start to name. So let's start with which element is furthest to the left on the periodic table. That's going to be N, so that will be the first thing that we name. So we're going to write nitrogen, okay? Now, the second step, I'm going to change colors. Second step is to write the element and change the ending to "ide." So my second element is oxygen. I'm going to leave a little bit of space because I know I'm going to need a prefix, but I'm going to write oxide. Okay, good so far. Third step, add your prefixes to indicate how many you have. So if we look here, I'm going to change colors. I have 2 nitrogen. So I'm going to look at my numerical prefixes. I gave you the little chart here. Di is 2. So I'm going to put di here. Sorry, it looks like I need another N on there. Okay. I have 5 oxygen. So again, I look over here and I see 5 is penta. So I'm kind of running out of room, but this would go right in front of oxide. So it would be pentoxide. We don't actually put the A in penta because we already have a vowel. So this would just be pentoxide because pentaoxide would be awkward. So that's how we name it. Super simple. Let's try one more. Here we go. So we have carbon is further to the left than fluorine. So carbon is going to be named first. Then, if you remember, we are going to change the name of fluorine to fluoride. So far, I have carbon fluoride, okay? But now we're going to add our prefixes. So we have 4 here. So the prefix for that is tetra. So I know I have tetrafluoride. And this is where the exception, I'm just going to put tetrafl because I just don't want to write anymore. But this is that exception, okay? Notice I only have 1 carbon, okay? Because it's the first element in the compound, I'm not going to use the prefix mono. I'm just going to say carbon. So the answer to this, if I were to ask you what is the name of this covalent compound, it's carbon tetrafluoride. Now, if you want to go the opposite way, so let's say we're going from the formula to the name. Oh my gosh, this is the easiest thing on the planet. So let me pick one for you. Let's do, what if we do P2 S3? So we know it's covalent, right? You always want to ask, is there a metal? There's no metal in this compound, so we know it's covalent. It's so easy to go from the formula to the name because everything's given to you. You have 2 here, so this is diphosphorus. And I'm going to shorthand it because, like I said, I want to keep this video short. I have 3 sulfur, so diphosphorus trisulfide. Really, really simple. Okay, I think you guys can get that pretty easily. Like I said, I think these are kind of the easiest of all to name. So once again, you will have questions where you have to determine, is this ionic or is it covalent? Because you have to figure out which way to name it. And a lot of times they're all mixed up. Like I'm not going to say, okay, here is, name this ionic compound with a polyatomic ion. No, it's just going to be a compound and you have to figure out, is this an ionic compound or is this a covalent compound? So the first question you always ask yourself, I don't know how much clearer I can get, is there a metal? What's the question? Is there a metal? One more time. What's the question? Is there a metal? If there is a metal, which means one of the elements is from left of the stair step, it's ionic. And if it's ionic, that's where you have to use your charges, crisscross your charges. You have to watch out for polyatomic ions and then also look for transition metals and use Roman numerals. However, if there is no metal, then it is covalent. So that means if both elements are on the right side of the stair step, in that case, it's covalent and you're going to use your prefixes. And that, I believe, is it for this video. So thanks, guys. Have a great day.